So, back in 2013, psychiatry's official rulebook made a massive and pretty controversial change.
Asperger syndrome, a diagnosis that defined identities and communities, was just done. So why did it happen?
Before this change, the old manual, the DSM-IV, listed a few distinct diagnoses, including Asperger's. But here's the thing, clinicians were applying these labels inconsistently. The diagnoses just weren't reliable.
The American Psychiatric Association had a great way of putting it. A little gross, but memorable.
So the DSM-5's big solution was to scrap all that and create one single diagnosis, Autism Spectrum Disorder. The actual rules for diagnosis changed too. They condensed 3 symptom areas down to just 2. That first new category basically merged social and communication challenges, treating them as 2 sides of the same coin. And that second category got a huge update too, now requiring more behaviors and adding sensory issues. Now, you can probably guess the big fear this sparked. Would people lose their diagnoses, their services? And early studies were not comforting. One predicted 54% of kids wouldn't meet the new criteria. Yikes. But once the final criteria were locked in, a later study found 91% would still qualify. Phew. So this kicked off a massive debate. Were they making the diagnosis more accurate, but leaving people behind? And for families, this wasn't just academic. It had very real, very painful consequences for their kids.
But look, this wasn't just about clinical data or access to services. It hit a deeply personal nerve.
People felt like they were losing their identity, their community, and facing a renewed stigma with autism. One theory calls this demedicalization, the idea that Asperger's is just a personality trait, not something to be cured. Another idea is that Asperger's became a diagnosis you had to actively fight for, to hold onto. Advocacy groups literally petitioned the APA, arguing that this specific label was precious to the community. Ultimately, this whole controversy shows a fundamental tension that exists in medicine, even today. It's that classic conflict between the need for scientific precision and the powerful social identities we build. Which leaves us with one last, really big question. How much should a medical label define who we are?